Hello dear viewers and welcome back to the ancient dwarven hold of our ancestors. Today I'm going to talk about the game Powerlust. Powerlust is an isometric action role-playing game developed and published by Bart Mamser. It was released in July 2025. In Powerlust, you'll be fighting your way across a fantasy world, doing battle with all sorts of baddies, or swinging a mighty sword, or flinging some mighty spells. This is an interesting one, dear viewers. I had it on my wish list for quite some time, but as it was in early access, I let it sit there until it had a full release. Well, it was released on the 31st of July 2025. In Powerlust, you'll be fighting your way across a fantasy world, doing battle with all sorts of baddies, while swinging a mighty sword or flinging some mighty spells. It is probably a good idea to set expectations. Powerlust is developed by a single person, the aforementioned Bart Mamser. What he's been able to achieve here by himself is very impressive, and in that same vein, dear viewers, this is done by just a single person. This isn't some fancy looking ARPG with lots of developers creating top quality polished stuff for every aspect of the game. Basically, even though it is great what has been done here, it is very clear that this game is quite rough at the moment. Things work, there are no game-breaking bugs, that I found at least, but there are some very rough edges. I bought the game regardless of any shortcomings though, as I wanted to check it out and I try to support indie developers where I can. The world of Powerlust is one of dark fantasy. There are humans and orcs and mighty dwarves and elves and all that with more grim look and feel to it. Things are dark and grimy. The various areas like dungeons and forests and crypts all exude a darkness to them, with shadows creeping from the edges of the scene. It feels very gloomy indeed, which is cool. The character models are fitting for the grim setting and look decent enough, and the monsters and other baddies you come across go nicely with the theme. There is a good mix of baddies to fight, from skeletons, orcs, strange crustaceans, hydras and all sorts, and they mostly look pretty decent. There is a lack of idle animations with several of them though, so sometimes you're not quite sure if a bad guy is actually dead or just isn't moving because they don't move at all when not engaged. It seems a lot of the graphical development was put into the combat, which is a good thing. There are some flashy spells going on with fancy effects when you fire lightning or water bolts or what have you. Look-wise, this is very much the standout feature of the game. The combat looks cool and is satisfying to behold while you play. Graphically, the intent is good, I feel, but the game can look like something from a fair number of years past. There are things like no animations when collecting things from the ground, some low-res textures, and others. I got on with it fine, dear viewers, but it really is up to you when taking a look at this game and deciding if you mind the lower fidelity. Powerlust does struggle some in the sound department. There are some decent effects when you're swinging a sword around or firing off some cool spell, but things like picking up items again has no sound at all. There's a dialogue between yourself and other characters in the game, but it's all in text form with nothing voiced. The music is quite interesting though, it's pretty good actually, and some of it reminds me of the Van Helsing series. The world of Powerlust consists of a grid of maps with an overview map showing from the start many of the points of interest that you'll be able to visit. There are towns and castles and ruins and such. Each area of the grid is made up of a rectangular map. It is completely open world, so if you feel like it, you can go to any part of it that you wish. You cannot move diagonally though, and certain maps can be dead ends or not be traversable in certain directions. This all keeps things fairly simple. And I imagine this is a lot easier to populate than a fully crafted three-dimensional world with contours and elevations and whatnot. This is fine, but the maps can feel quite samey and just something there for you to run through. The story starts off quite generic. We are being attacked by orcs and nasties, so please help. There is some further intrigue though about the strange stones that are giving you odd visions of the future, and it does develop further on. There was clearly some thought gone into this. In terms of role-playing, you can actually choose a few times with certain quests, or it appeared so anyway, to decide between different actions, like where I could help a prisoner escape a labour camp, or report it to the leader of said camp. Perhaps they both might have led to me killing all the baddies, but still. There are a few others too that do have an emotional impact, which is cool. Quest-wise, it's all pretty standard ARPG stuff, which is fine, with NPCs sending you to different locations to collect some doodad or kill some baddie or something. This is when it can feel a little bit of a slog to run through different locations for an objective, but in the least you can use town portals which will teleport you instantly to any town you've previously visited. These cut down a lot on the running to and fro between objectives. The movement of your hero, I used a keyboard, is very reactive, allowing you to move about the place easily as you fight. There is a roll and other movement type skills that you can make use of during a fight and outside of it. You can map several skills or ability to up to 5 different slots. This means you don't have immediate access to all your abilities you might have learned, but it is a decent number, and there is an awful lot of skills to choose from, dear viewer. You can use any spell that you have learned, there's no restriction on this. What the game does do in this area is reduce the effectiveness of the skill depending on what level your mastery is for that type. For example, what level your basic combat skill is, your level of necromancy or fire magic and so forth. Their energy costs will be higher unless you've leveled them to a certain level. Now let's talk about the combat. The fighting in the game is, in my opinion, the best part of the game. There is a great many different spells and abilities for you to learn, which means you can create the combat character that you would like to play. I went for a sword-swinging nutter with some holy spells thrown in. I guess kind of like a paladin, but more on the crazy sword attack side. While movement is handled with the WASD, the right and left click buttons will use a skill alongside Control, Shift and Alt, along with spacebar. If you have a melee weapon mapped, when you click in one of these buttons you'll perform a swing. The attack will swing around depending on how you're moving, which means you can do things like swipe at some baddies and turn away to get away in a single move. You can also move in and out of range of the baddie and stab them with your sword. Instead of mana or some other resource, instead you have energy. Energy is generated by basic attacks and spent by your more powerful abilities. So combat can be a weave of generating energy and then spending it on something fancy. The magical spells and abilities which you can map to any of the previous buttons I've mentioned are flashy, and I think this is where a lot of the work has been put in, and rightly so I think. There is a spell school covering pretty much every sort of thing you might imagine, from lightning to fire, water, arcane, holy, illusion, shadow and necromancy. If you enjoy playing spellcasters in games like this, then I think you're going to have fun with it. Depending on the difficulty, the combat can be a walk in the park or really quite tough to incredibly difficult. There was a power level slider which I started at level 1, where the mobs seemed to have 100% HP and damage. I began sliding it up to 200 and higher as I progressed through the game, but not past 4. It can go up to 10. If you have it at the default power level, you can absolutely destroy everything you come across. I was a sword-swinging nutcase critting everything for several times their total HP and not being really challenged, so I'd crank it up a bit. You can also avoid a lot of damage by being a ranged character, as the melee swing of opponents on higher power levels is no joke. To help you better the baddies and fashion your character how you like it, when you gain a level through defeating enemies and completing quests, you'll gain mastery points. These are spent on levelling up a mastery for a specific type of fighting style or spell school. Not only does this increase the effectiveness of that style, but also unlocks the ability to place talent points in the tree associated with each of them. There is a lot you can do here to customise your character and build them how you want. What I would say is that the ability to respec would be really welcome. If you make a mistake while levelling, especially as you are learning the game, then there isn't much you can do. I can understand though, because you aren't a specific class, so if you could now fully respec, then you'll never need to make more than one character. As you would expect, there are lots of stats and things for you to get to grips with. All the usual stuff like crit chance and damage, spell school damage, magic resist, armor HP and so forth are all present here. You can increase some of these stats through the masteries, but the majority of your stats will come from your gear, and there is quite a lot of it here. Like a good isometric ARPG, there are all sorts of items that drop that come with different combinations of stats that you might be looking for. They come in different rarities too, with blue being standard, then yellow, then epic purple. Light blue seems to be unique items that you don't see very often, as well as orange legendary items. I stacked as much crits and crit damage I could find with plus HP, so I could stay in melee longer and strike down any foes with a two-handed sword. There are also blacksmith NPCs that can upgrade your existing items, costing gold. This allows you to hang on to decent items a bit longer, which is a good feature to have. You can also use the blacksmith to craft items using a combination of items that you have, along with essences from breaking down powerful items. You can also swap about some stats too. So there is a lot going on here with the systems and the loots and the combat, which can be a very satisfying experience. The fundamentals are there, which is great, and there has clearly been a lot of care and effort put into Powerlust. The main issue with the game, of course, is the general polish and rough edges on certain parts of the game. There are bits of castles and forests and other locations that are bereft of baddies or anything to really interact with, while making it seem like a lot of empty space. Some friendly NPCs are mostly static, and sometimes you lose the ability to talk with them, which can be annoying if they're important like a trader. Things aren't always labelled on the minimap, certain sounds are missing, and more. Saying all that, there is a good game here, with cool abilities, good levelling and talent systems, alongside some interesting looking baddies to beat up. I enjoyed my time with Powerlust. I enjoyed building a crazy crit build Paladin Nutterman, and getting a few powerful weapons really felt good. The story took me about 12 hours, and there was an endless dungeon mode you can grind away at afterwards. If I'm honest, I think this game could have been in early access for a little longer. I know it must be difficult to be a one-man development team, with all the financial issues that come along with it, but it feels like this could have waited a bit longer to have a more polished product. I would have to say that at £16.75 on Steam in the UK, it feels too expensive. I think $9.99 would have been a better price to come in at. So what am I actually saying here at the end of it all? Well, I like the game. I had fun with the game. It has some good features and creating your character feels satisfying. The game needs some more development to bring it into what I think at least would be a good position where I think it justifies being fully released. And I think it's too expensive. If you like what you see here and want to support the developer, then I would definitely grab this game. This guy has put in a lot of effort here and seems quite approachable, responding often on the Steam forums and Discord and such. We need to support developers like this, but at the same time, I think it needs more development time and is a little too expensive. So knowing how the game is after playing it, would I personally still buy it? To be honest, yes, I would. As I say, I had fun and learning the game was interesting. I will leave this one to you, dear viewers. If you like what you see here and want to support the game, then check it out. If you think it can't justify the full release, then perhaps wait for some more dev time on it and keep it on the wish list. And there we go, dear viewers, another video from me here down in the Ancient Hold. I hope you enjoyed it and I hope you're doing well. If you like what I do down here, then please consider subscribing, leaving a comment and giving the video a thumbs up. Thanks, and I shall see you next time.